welcome back to the Shenanigans Show. So, like I discussed in last week's video, this is another things I wish, specifically the StoryGraph app, would make, add, change, update. And again, I have 6 things here. Again, like with last week's video, I have the bare bones basic list down below in the description, and I will be elaborating more in this video. I'm not going to talk too much more about it because I explained it last week, so go check out last week's video. It's linked down below in the description. Now, like I said in last week's video, and like you can tell from the title and thumbnail, this is specifically for the StoryGraph app. I love the StoryGraph app. I will never stop using it. However, like with anything, I think there is some room for improvement. So with all that said, let's get into this video. The first thing that I would like to see is something that I think they should make to their app is an option for a following along in a different format type of a feature. So for example, if you're reading in the audiobook format, I feel like there should be a feature where you can say I'm following along with the physical book or the ebook, or if you're reading the physical book, there should be that feature to say I'm following along with the audiobook or the ebook. And third time's charm, if you're reading the ebook, you should be able to say I'm following along with the audiobook or the physical book. And this is just so like I know with me sometimes if I'm listening to the audiobook, if I'm reading mainly the physical book, but in a given moment I'm listening to the audiobook, sometimes I just want to update the book with where I'm at. I know that sometimes if, let's say, I'm reading mainly the physical book, but I'm also following along with the audiobook, and in a given moment if I'm listening to the audiobook, then sometimes I just want to update my progress with the book without having to go to the physical book, figure out where exactly I'm at in the physical book, especially if I'm not like at the beginning or the end of a chapter. I don't want to have to figure where exactly where I'm at in the physical book to update. Like, I want to be able to just update with like the hours and the minutes. And that's something that, even though I'm not like super technologically savvy, that's something that I feel like should be on the easier side to do. As with a lot of the things that I will be mentioning, I'm not very technologically savvy, but I feel like these should be relatively easy to do. The next thing I wish they would make is to allow for a chapters update feature where you can update by chapter specifically rather than by pages or by the hours. And this kind of piggybacks off of last week's video where the Book of the Month app doesn't give you the overall progress of where you're at in the book, only the in-chapter progress. So being able to update by chapter, saying like, oh, I'm at chapter 4 or 5, and again, it should be like easy enough to calculate how far you are percentage-wise in a book by the chapter. Especially when like they already have all the pages, and I know that would probably take some extra coding or whatever, but again, it doesn't seem like it would be super hard to do. And I'm not trying to like diminish what it takes to do that kind of stuff, but it's more so me saying that because of all the other features that the StoryGraph has, the app has, that adding this one little thing doesn't seem like it would be super difficult to do. The next little feature that I wish they would update to their app, is to have some sort of like what I didn't or didn't like feature when you're reviewing. Because I know for me sometimes, especially in the past like 6 months to a year. I've been in this weird kind of review funk almost, where I want to review, but I can't. I'm okay giving a start rating, and in the StoryGraph app, I'm okay selecting, like, okay, this book was of interest, it was challenging, it was emotional, blah, 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 and it was character driven, or there was character development, I like the characters. I'm okay selecting that, but once it gets down to the actual review, I've been having a hard time, like, actually reviewing it. And having some sort of, like, feature where, let's say it's like a drop-down feature with, like, keywords from the book, like characters, plots, character development, character arcs, setting, genre, pacing, having keywords, like a drop-down feature with keywords, having one be like likes, having that list of keywords, having a second one be dislikes, the same keywords, and then you can select however many. And in that way, you can have some sort of like pseudo review, so that you as a reviewer can kind of elaborate a little bit more with what the reviewer did or did not like, and people who are coming across the reviews can see, like, oh, this person most likely rated it X number of stars because of A, B, and C. The next thing that I would like to see them change, update, is breaking up that DNF section into distinctive years. And I know that when you go to the DNF section, you can see when exactly you DNF'd it. But I feel like if you're going to go to that point where it's like, oh, October 25th, 2021, you have like the specific date, month, day, and year, then it shouldn't be too much harder to break it into distinct years as to when you DNF something. And again, it would make it a lot easier when you're trying to like get your statistics, like, okay, how many books did I DNF in 2024 versus how many did I read? The next one kind of piggybacks off of that one, but bringing in more statistics for the regular users who aren't doing the plus, like the StoryGraph Plus or Pro or whatever it's called. And some of the ones I can think of off the top of my head are like how many books DNF'd to read ratios, how many books added to a TBR pile versus read, also too making the statistic of how many books you've read that you owned versus unowned. I have a feeling that statistic is in there somewhere, it's just really not very accessible. So making that statistic, if that is a statistic, making it more accessible to be seen, especially in like the monthly to yearly statistics. But bringing in other statistics for the regular users, because like we want to see more detailed statistics of our reading, and it shouldn't be gatekept, for lack of a better word, to the people who are paying for the premium or whatever they're calling it. Now, the last one, I know a little bit of context. I know that they recently added the feature to pause reading if, let's say, your library book hold loan lapses and you have to wait for it to come back to you before you finish. I know they have the option to pause your reading until you are able to get your hands on the book again. However, with that, I feel like they can go a step further by having the option to disclose if a book is a library book or not, because I know that there are quite a few books that I do not own that I have read, but they're not necessarily library books. Like a lot of the Kindle Unlimited books, I don't own per se. I didn't buy the ebooks. And a lot of the books that I got through the Audible app and through the Audible subscription, I didn't really own a lot of those ones, but I still had them on my Audible shelf. So like having that option to disclose if it's a library book or not, and then adding that in as like another little statistic of like, oh, library books versus non-library books, owned versus unowned books. So just being able to have that extra little detail would be really useful, because I know for myself and for a lot of other readers, there is that kind of emphasis to try reading more from local libraries and to continue supporting local libraries. So having that option to see like how many library books you read a particular month or a particular year, and with apps like Libby and Overdrive, I think it's called, and Hoopla, and it makes it easier to access library books like ebooks and audiobooks from the library. So that is the end of this video. Let me know down in the comments, like with last week's video, if you agree or disagree, if there's anything you would like to see the StoryGraph app add or update or change. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.